What's going on, everyone? I'm finally coming back with some more knife reviews, and I am sad to say that I'm starting this out with a couple of knives that I just don't like that much. But that's okay. I didn't buy these intentionally. I bought a lot of knives from a local knife enthusiast who just, needed some money. And these happened to be in the lot, and I was like, well, you know what? They're kind of decent. They're not bad. I may as well put a review out on them. There's not a ton of videos on the model on YouTube, so I'll put out my thoughts on it. And after I do the review, I'll give them away to my coworkers who just need knives that are sharp and will cut, and will always hand them back to me when it's time for sharpening anyways. So these are the Camillus Rage knives. Now, what's weird about this is it was hard for me to figure out what knives these even were. And I want to rant for a second because I absolutely hate when knife companies do not put the model number or name of the model on the damn knife. I mean, there is so much space on this blade to easily just put, the model number up here or down here and the name of the knife somewhere on the knife so that it's easily identifiable for enthusiasts or collectors when they come across it to Google it and figure out what the hell it's made out of, what the specs are, so on and so forth. I had to go to Camillus's website, scroll through, and whenever I did finally find the knife on their website, it was specifically one size, and it was the black version of the knife. I can't find these tan versions anywhere online. I've searched all over, and I just cannot find them at all. They seem to just not exist. I assume they came in some kind of 2-pack, but also what's weird is the specs online, from what I've seen, aren't quite right. Like Blade HQ and Camillus both say this is a 3-inch blade. Neither of these are 3-inch blades. This is 3 1/4. This is 2 5/8. So I'm not really sure. It's not very well documented. Maybe these are odd-sized variants of the Rage. I really don't know what's going on with that, but it does absolutely irritate me whenever knife companies can't be bothered to, let us know what the hell we're looking at. Just a small rant. Probably doesn't bother many of you, but it absolutely bothers me. So yeah, I'm not terribly enthusiastic about these knives, but let's go ahead and jump into it. So here I have the large version and the small version. And let's have a look at these blades. I'll use the large one just because it's larger. It's easier to see. This is a really cool organic recurved drop point. Some people say spear point on certain websites. To me, this is definitely a recurved drop point. And it actually is a really cool and functional blade shape. I did a little bit of cutting with this one just to see how it performed. And honestly, it did really well. I like these recurved blades. I'm a big fan of Zero Tolerance and Kershaw for doing stuff like this. So I don't have any complaints about the blade itself. And honestly, it sliced through cardboard pretty well. I think it would be a more than adequate shape for EDC for the majority of people. And I've long said that the steel this knife uses would be more than adequate for the majority of people. And that is, according to Camillus's website and Blade HQ, 440. All right, let's go ahead and just cover something real quick. If a knife company doesn't specify what kind of 440 they are using, 100% of the time it is going to be 440A. Because if it was 440C, they'd brag about it, and 440B almost never gets used. So, yeah, definitely 440A. But given that this is made in China, it's actually going to be Chinese 440A, also known as 7CR17MOV. Something you've seen on a lot of Gerber knives, on a fair amount of Kershaw knives. It's a more than adequate steel for the average person's everyday carry use. I want to rant on that just a little bit as well because I need to make a whole video about the EDC idiocies that people like to talk about, because I talk to so many people who are like, oh, I use the hell out of my everyday carry knife. I'm a professional carpet layer or electrician or contractor or whatever, and I use my knife to cut electrical wire and drywall and carpet. And to that I say, are you a freaking idiot? What kind of professional doesn't have the proper tools for the job? If you're a professional electrician without a wire cutter, you shouldn't be an electrician. If you're laying carpet with your pocket knife instead of a freaking utility blade, you are an idiot. Straight up, no BS. Any professional would have the right tool for the right job. I am friends with many people who do contract work. My brother's an electrician. I've got friends who, do drywall and plumbing, and not a single one of them would be caught dead using their damn pocket knife for something that they're meant to use their utility knife for, okay? It's all BS. It's all just a way to kind of justify their purchases, and I get it. It's fun to do your testing, but let's not act like that's a realistic use of an EDC blade. The average person for a realistic application of their everyday carry knife is opening up their 74th package from Amazon this week because you all have shopping problems. They're cutting up their steak at the local diner. They're popping that string off their shirt that they bought at Walmart on sale because it's low quality and it's constantly coming apart. And maybe they're breaking down a few boxes at work. Really, even that is going to fall more to a box cutter or utility knife. But, I use my EDC at work for breaking down boxes. Not necessarily slicing the cardboard apart, but just cutting the tape and getting them flat. And my EDC today is a little Ozark Trail Wug Out. The D2 quote-unquote bug out killer. And yeah, I use that for cutting, for breaking down boxes all the time. That's a realistic use, honestly. But the people who are out here talking about how they're, I don't know, cutting 2x4s with their EDC knives, you're freaking idiots. Okay? Just being honest, you are freaking idiots. I need to make a whole video about that. So, long story short, 440A, 7CR17 MOV, it's adequate. It's fine for the majority of people's everyday carry use because you know how many strings off your shirt, bits of tape you'd have to cut, steaks you'd have to prepare, and Amazon bubble mailers you'd have to open to dull a razor-sharp 440A blade. It's a lot. It's a hell of a lot. And that's why a lot of people will go, years with their cheap gas station knife before it finally gets dull, because the average person's not using their knives all that often. And companies like Camillus, which are largely a commercial brand now, understand that. So if you want to see a whole video where I rant about the EDC, EDSCs, let me know. I'd happily make one. But that's all to say, I think the steel is perfectly adequate for the everyman, for the average user. I like the shape. The steel is fine. The grind is a flat grind. From about that midsection down on the small, same thing on the, well, actually the large feels hollow ground, interestingly enough. So slight difference in production between the two. The tip is actually very penetrative. See if I can get that to focus. There you go, nice fine tip. And I know because it actually sliced me the other day. Wasn't paying attention and I came across the back of it and it sliced right into my finger. So good penetrative tip. It'll puncture right into those bubble mailers because you people don't know how to put your credit cards away. So yeah, now I'll say this. These were in brand new condition when I got them, and they were both dull as dirt. They needed touched up. So I did have to go through and sharpen them. So they don't have a good edge out of box. At least mine didn't. You'll probably need to give them a little bit of love. Blade length on the large, 3 1/4 inches. On the small, it is 2 5/8 inches. All right, deployment is something I'm not super crazy about with these knives because they both have this small kind of ovangular hole. And you can dig the fat of your thumb in there and get it out, but it's not comfortable. It does kind of hurt the thumb a little bit, and it's not the most easily accessed. It should be a little larger. It's just not the best to get into. I would have preferred a thumb stud or a larger hole. The small is even tougher just because it is so small, but I can get in there to open it. It's just not the fastest opening. And this is a titanium nitride on these blades, by the way, which from the large, my little bit of cutting, it's held up okay so far. I find tie-dye coatings to be more than adequate. They will wear off over time, but they hold up a lot better than Teflon. The handles on these knives are glass-filled nylon, aka GFN. You can see, again, this is this kind of cool coyote brown, but the ones you'll buy online are mostly black. It's slick. They have a texture on here trying to mimic G10. It is very slick. It's not going to provide you a lot of traction, but it's not terrible. And we do have some skeletonized stainless steel liners, and these are captured liner locks. Okay, the liners are nested within the handle, which I like. I like that better than full liners. I think it looks nicer. I think it helps to create a thinner profile. So yeah, as far as the lock engagement, you can see it there. Here's the small. Nice early engagement, will wear well over time. You can see it is just riding on Teflon washers in that pivot point, by the way. Centering on the small, you can see pretty much perfect. Centering on the large, pretty much perfect. And we do have adjustable hardware, T8 on the pivot and then T6 on the body. So we can take it apart and clean it if we ever need to, including the pocket clip, which is sadly stuck in right hand tip down carry only on both of these knives. Typical Camillus clip flares up way too much on the end there, so it's going to scratch car doors as you pass by and snag on things and probably eventually catch something and bend. and you'll have to fix it. Not a big fan of the clips on these knives. As far as how they carry, though, let me just bring in a pair of work pants so I can show off the pocket. You can see it buries. Here's the small one. They bury well. And the tension is adequate enough. I'd like to see a little more tension on the clip, but it's not terrible. So the small one's actually stouter. I actually like the tension on the small one's clip better. And the small clip is actually obviously smaller. I wonder if I could take that off and put that over here and have a lower profile. But I'm giving these away anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We do have this kind of interesting lanyard hole that's not perfectly circular. It'll work, but whenever you're tipped down, having a lanyard is largely pointless because it's just going to bury the lanyard in your pocket. So unless you're taking this clip off, the lanyard hole is worthless. Holes drilled in the handle for aesthetics, not too bad. I will say they're not super comfortable in the hand. Okay, the little one actually is not so bad, but the larger one, it's squared, it's blocky, it's got some sharp edges on that glass-filled nylon. That pocket clip does dig into the fat of my hand a little bit. It's just not a super ergonomic knife. It's not uncomfortable, but it doesn't melt in your hand by any means. Jimping topside, highly functional, I will say that. Forgot to mention lockup. No up and down, no side to side on the large. No up and down, no side to side on the small. So they do lock up really well. I'll have to give them that. Deployment is decent. It's just not the easiest thing to deploy because, again, that deployment method sucks. Weight on these, I actually have my little digital scale, so I'm going to bring that in. And we're going to weigh these knives. Wait for that to set up. So the large, 2.79 ounces, we'll just say 2.8. And the small, 1.41, we'll say 1.4. So nice and light. I guess I'll go ahead and also put this on grams. So 40 grams for the small. And 79.1 for the large. So there's your weights. Relatively lightweight knives, honestly, especially with the size of blade you're getting out of the large. I think these are a great weight. I think they're actually above average, partially because we do have nested steel liners, which are naturally skeletonized because the handles are drilled out. So these aren't bad knives. All this is to say these are not terrible knives. Retail price on the Rage, the only version I can find online, is $27.95 on Blade HQ. The problem I have is that for $27.95 in this day and age, we can get much better knives than these. These are fine. You know, you pick this up at Walmart on sale for 15 bucks. I think it's going to be a decent knife. But even at Walmart for 15 bucks, we can do better these days. It's crazy to think that the budget knife scene has exploded in such a way that we can get better knives than these for the money. If you'd have dropped this off back in 2008, you know, for 25, 30 bucks, people would have thought it was a hell of a deal. I mean, there would have still been better knives at that price point, but it would have impressed some people. These days, though, I'm just not so sure. Like, here's a Gonzo. This is the older version of the knife, but still, it is the G729 440C blade. Far outperforms this. G10 handles, Axis type lock, reversible pocket clip, absolutely melts in the hand. This will outperform this Camillus every single day of the week. Well, you can buy this at Walmart and you have to order this on Amazon. Okay, fair enough, fine. Let's talk about some Walmart knives that are going to kick these Camillus' asses. How about my EDC of the day? The Ozark Trail quote-unquote wug-out or bug-out killer. That's a D2 steel blade. Chinese D2, not the best D2 in the world, but not the worst. Far outperforms these Camillus'. Action lock. Look at that action, or axis lock. Now this one is stiffer than some of the other ones I have. Let me go ahead and bring in this black one. And quality is going to vary from knife to knife at this price range, but just amazing drop shut action. Bank vault level lockup. Way more ergonomic in the hand. You can reverse that clip to the other side. This is a $10 knife. And it comes in a variety of colors. Okay? Here's the OD green one. These will get their own review. Don't worry. You can buy this at the same place you can buy these Camillus' at. You can buy these at Walmart. Or how about this one? Another Ozark Trail. This one's in 12C27, G10 handle, button lock. Look at the action on this thing. Just absolute drop shut. Locks up like a freaking bank vault. This is a $25 knife, cheaper than these, and a far better blade in every way. Another Ozark Trail. This one's 20. 14C28N steel, aluminum handles, axis type lock. Yet again, drop shut action. Buy it at Walmart for 20 bucks. It'll kick these Camillus' asses every single day. Here's another knife you could buy from Walmart. I don't know if they're still making it. The Buck Trekker. This was a $28 or $30 knife from Walmart. I like this knife. I have a long history of not getting along with Buck, and I really enjoyed this, little Walmart special. I think it's a way better knife than this. That's not to dog on the Camillus Rages. I don't think they're bad knives. The problem is I just don't think they're great knives. And at this price point, we can get great knives these days. Okay, here's the B or Enlin, depending on which version you get. EL06. This one's sporting a beautiful camo G10 handle. Also a captured liner lock, heavier for sure. 9CR 18 MOV blade, far better steel than this. Comfortable in the hand. 25 to 30 bucks, sometimes as low as 20. It's a better knife. It's just a better knife, and that's the problem. That these are not bad knives. If you bought this for people who aren't knife guys and gave it to them, they'd probably be very happy with it, and they'd love it, and they'd carry it, and they'd never know the difference. And when it finally went dull, they'd throw it away or bring it to you to sharpen, and you'd sharpen it in 17 seconds flat on whatever cheap ceramic rod system you happen to have laying around that you use for other people's knives that you don't care about that much. Hand it back to them, and they'd be happy as a clam. That is just the reality of these budget knives. That's what these are for. These are commercial knives meant to be sold to an audience of non-knife people, and that is fine. They work well for that. But if you're a knife guy, and if you're watching this video, you probably are, you can just do so much better than the Camillus Rage. It's nothing to rage about. I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. I'll see you next time. Peace and take care.